President Donald Trump is being sworn in as the 47th President of the United States today. This is the first day of the administration. Everything begins. And with this, the political landscape is not just changing in the United States. This is a global change. And we already have a general idea of what's going to happen, given that Trump has detailed what he has in store for a lot of this on his first day in office. Now, so far, the nominees for his cabinet, they're still going through. It's looking like Senator Marco Rubio is Secretary of State. He could be among the first to get confirmed, and Trump may have one person in his cabinet, at least, with his foot in the door when he starts. And on the policy front, Trump is coming in prepared to hit the ground running. Tom Homan, the border czar, he said as much as last night during an interview with American thought leaders at the Turning Point Inauguration Ball. Let me show you this. Watch.
Mexico's stepping up. Again, President Trump's already making a difference before he even gets in office. And the candidates coming to the table. President Trump's a game changer already. But wait till you see the executive orders come out and see what happens then.
Now look, according to reports as well, Trump has 200 executive actions ready to go. That's about 50 executive orders and then 150 other actions. AP said this beforehand on January 10th. It's since been updated, but it said the President-elect Donald Trump has prepared 100 executive orders. That's now been changed, 200 executive actions. A lot bigger than what he initially said. Some of this could, for example, be going after the border, creating a border emergency, a national emergency around the border, meaning starting tomorrow, we could see a national emergency declared at the U.S.-Mexico border. He could rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. He's going to end some of the offshore wind farms, probably pull us out of the Paris Climate Accord. A lot of things like this on the table. Now let me show you, New York Post talked about what they have with the 200 executive actions. But look, remember, executive orders or executive actions, again, about 50 of these are going to be orders officially. Now, these are a pretty powerful tool that a president can wield, but they're also not that solid. It's possible we could see federal judges trying to block these in some areas around the United States. You might remember Trump's first term in office. He'd make an executive order, and then the news would come out that a Hawaiian judge or something like that blocked the order, and it meant it'd have to go through an entire legal process. Also, executive orders can usually be overturned pretty easily when a new president comes into office. So, 4 years, they can last. After 4 years, it's kind of easy to overturn them normally. But these actually might help Trump jumpstart a lot of his policies. But the real solid stuff is not going to be the executive actions or orders. It's going to be legislation. Now, on that part, we are seeing some action as well. Trump was initially pushing for what he called one big, powerful bill. And he basically wanted his early policies to get fast-tracked by having Congress vote on a reconciliation package. And his hopes for this, to have that single legislative package, it's making its way through congressional votes. The plan was he wanted to have it fast-tracked, get on his desk, get signed into law as soon as possible. But right now it's looking like one bill could be a bit too ambitious. Although the alternative is not a significant move away from that. The House Freedom Caucus, which is, again, the House of Representatives members who are relatively more in support of Trump's agenda, they're now pushing for this agenda to roll it out with two big bills, not just one. They issued a statement on this on January 16th. Let me show you what they said. This is from the House Freedom Caucus. They said, quote, "We have put forward and shared with colleagues across the Republican conference a good faith proposal outlined below as a phase one of a two-step reconciliation strategy." And they said we would quickly fund border security, modernize the U.S. military, cut spending by reversing some of the worst Biden policies, right-size federal agencies and programs, and increase the debt ceiling for 2 years, not forever like Trump was saying he wants to do, while legitimately bending the spending curve down for the first time in decades. Now they note, our proposal is a Republican plan that we believe can reach 218 votes that would also allow us to keep the ball on the Republican side of the negotiating field for defense and non-defense appropriations while delivering wins and uniting this conference. Now, on that front, Trump has a few hurdles with this. The big one is going to be the debt ceiling. Now, basically, look, here's how it is. Trump wants to get rid of the debt ceiling. The United States has gone so deeply into debt, they've hit the limit on how much debt they can go into. And until recently, this problem has been solved by congressional votes to just keep raising the amount of debt we can possibly get into. It's kind of like if you are deeply in debt, and instead of paying off your debt, you get a new credit card, and then you keep maxing out your credit cards, and you get yourself out in debt by basically just continually getting new credit cards and maxing those out and increasing the amount of debt you're in. But now look, while talking about getting America out of debt, Trump is also calling for the entire elimination of the debt ceiling. And look, the big challenge is he needs funding to carry out his policies. If he can't raise the debt ceiling, he doesn't have the money he needs to do it. And now with his slight Republican supermajority in Congress and some support from Democrats, he basically needs to keep Republicans together on his orders and with his policies if this is going to pass. If even a few Republicans don't go along with what he plans, if Trump fails to win any support from Democrats, well, his policies are going to be hard to carry out. And so he does need to act with them, not against them. And it does seem he has that support right now. Now, as the Freedom Caucus notes, they do believe the current plan, 2 bills, they believe they have enough support to get that passed. And while Trump made it clear he wanted to get this done in 1 bill, he has also supported the 2-bill option. He's supporting it, right? He's on the table with this. There's another issue with illegal mass migration, and Trump has been discussing several very big policies on this. Among his planned one-day, first day, today or tomorrow policies is going to eliminate birthright citizenship. This is among the first things he's planning to do. That's the idea, look, that if you come here as an illegal immigrant, you have a kid, that kid automatically becomes a U.S. citizen, regardless of the legal status of the parents. You can come here as a tourist, you can illegally cross the border, go to an American hospital, give birth, no charges. You basically put them in the backs of American taxpayers or people using the hospital service, walk back to Mexico, and your kid, born for free in an American hospital, is now a U.S. citizen and could probably get benefits as well. Now, look, the challenge with ending this is that court precedents has established that birthright citizenship is kind of constitutional. There are some really important loopholes with this. Some suggest that you can't change unless you change the Constitution. Others are suggesting you would not really have to change the Constitution to get rid of it, including Trump. He's noting this. They're saying you just need to change the interpretation of the specific law. And their argument is that birthright citizenship does not apply to people whose parents entered the U.S. illegally, people who are here just as tourists and so on, people who are violating the law and then having a kid here. They're arguing that it should not be interpreted as encompassing those people, which would be a very large number of the cases. Now, the Heritage Foundation has been backing up on Trump with this, and they've also been releasing some of their own analysis on how the legal case for Trump could actually work. Have a look at this.
Universal birthright citizenship is actually a misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment. It was ratified in 1868, shortly after the Civil War, to specifically extend citizenship to freed slaves and their children. But the 14th Amendment does not say that all people born in the United States are citizens. It says that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. That second critical conditional phrase, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, is conveniently ignored or misinterpreted by advocates of birthright citizenship. It was written to help distinguish between people like the children of former slaves, who were unfairly denied citizenship, and the children of diplomats or other people who were in the country but owed their citizenship to other countries. Many claim that anyone present in the United States has subjected him or herself to the jurisdiction of the United States. But Senator Lyman Trumbull, a key figure in the adoption of the 14th Amendment, said that subject to the jurisdiction meant not owing allegiance to any other country. He's referring to the difference between partial territorial jurisdiction, which subjects all foreigners who enter the United States to the jurisdiction of our laws, and complete political jurisdiction, which requires allegiance to the United States government as well.
Now look, they go on to give some additional analysis on their case. For example, they note, look, if someone comes to the United States as a tourist and they commit a crime, well, they could still get prosecuted, right? The U.S. law does encompass it on that. But if America went to war and then issued a draft, the tourist would not be subject to a military draft. They would also not be subject to other requirements for citizens here, like having to go to jury duty or anything like that. And they note that this is kind of the legal gray area for this, right? The difference of being kind of recognized as part of the U.S. system and not. It also notes one of the key cases in all of this, right? When people talk about birthright citizenship being affirmed by the Supreme Court, the main case that's used these days to defend the legality of birthright citizenship for the children of illegal immigrants, they cite a 1898 case. This was when the U.S. Supreme Court determined that a man named Wong Kim Ark was a U.S. citizen because he was born in this country, even though his parents were also citizens under the then Chinese emperor. But the technicality with that 1800s case, his parents were not illegal immigrants. His parents were not tourists or anything like that. His parents were lawful U.S. permanent residents, meaning technically they were under the jurisdiction of U.S. law and the U.S. system. And so look, the case that Trump has on birthright citizenship, it will very likely be on these interpretations. And if day one Trump does in fact do what he says he'll do and he issues an executive order ending birthright citizenship, here's what's probably going to happen. He will immediately get challenged on this by maybe a federal judge. That will start a legal case, and that legal case will go to the Supreme Court, very likely.